folks. Welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Was thinking last night and this morning about something that, well, I say on here all the time, my little tagline, whatever you call it, the mentally, physically, and spiritually prepared, or physically, mentally, spiritually prepared, whatever that is. And I was thinking about that more, but specifically on the mental and the spiritual preparedness. And there is a reason why I talk about it often. Because, number one, the physical preparedness, whether it's your physical body getting as healthy as you can be, getting in shape, doing things, whether it's your diet or supplements, because you want to be as healthy as possible so that your body is as ready for what's happening and what will happen, whether it's a health crisis or just really hard times that puts a greater toll on your physical body. That's kind of a given. I think most people get that. The other kind of physical preparedness is just the things that you need. Food, tools, equipment, location. I think that most people that understand preparedness and the times that we are in get that. But the spiritual and the mental preparedness is something else. And I talk about that all the time. It's not because I have such a great accomplishment and have really wrapped up, being psychologically and spiritually prepared, that I am the best. It's certainly not that. I'm in a spiritual sense. It's a daily battle to become closer and more spiritually prepared, and continually building that relationship with the Father. I mean, that is, should be something that we all strive to be, is to have a more intimate relationship with the Most High. And then the mental preparedness is just, I think that's something that most anyone should be building on. But the reasons why that I really focus on those two things a lot, sometimes more than the physical, is because I strongly believe that the times that we're in and the things that are yet to come, the things that are just around the corner, down the road, are going to really put our minds, our psychological state, and our spiritual state to the test. I believe that history indicates that that's what's going to happen as we go through these times, and I believe what's talked about in the Bible, those end days of Noah, birthing pangs, all those kind of things. I think they also indicate strongly that we are going to be kind of put to the test in that sense. And so that's why I think it's very important for us to really focus on that. And I know that's putting it so plain and simple, but as someone that is trying to become more prepared, self-sufficient, self-reliant, whether it's your homesteading or whatever it is that you're doing, I think that this is an area that we forget a lot of times. We just assume that because, well, we're preppers, because we're self-sufficient, because we're homesteaders, because we're Bible believers, whatever it is, that we're more prepared than other people in the mental and the spiritual part, and so we'll do fine. Well, it may be true that we're more prepared, but it doesn't mean that we'll be fine. There is an absolute epidemic in our world today of mental health. There is a mental health epidemic, and you could point to all these different reasons to why it's happening, all the different styles and flavors of mental health. How we're trying to normalize mental health. There's all kinds of things that we could go into great detail talking about. But the fact is that it exists, and I think in part, not all, but in part, it exists because the world we live in is really taxing on our psyche. We're living in a society that's really unnatural. It's not how it's meant to be for us. That's just my personal belief. Whether it's technology, the busyness, the the deep desire to be self, important, to be the center of attention, or this constant constant battle and constant fight to acquire more wealth, more things, more me. Uh, it's basically, it's a narcissistic society that we live in, and really every aspect of our modern society, the technology, everything just completely supports this narcissistic behavior, and it's to the point that with many people it's very, and I'm not a medical health professional, I'm a mental health professional. Please understand that. Not even in the slightest. I'm just a lay person observing what I see. And I think that because of the way things are in the world today, and as they're continuing to get worse, it is just encouraging more psychotic behavior. And so we have to brace ourselves for that. Not just doing what we can to ensure that we don't fall into that, but that how others are acting and behaving does not affect us. It's going to be tough. There may come a day that food is very tough for you, and it's very hard to find, and that you're hungry and your children are hungry, and that's going to weigh heavy on your psychological health. Many other things I could give, a bunch of examples. It's the same way with our spiritual walk. Look at the decline in the last decade or so. Pretty sharp decline from what I've read of people that profess any kind of serious relationship with God the Father and His Son. I mean, there's all kinds of ways to ask the question, and when they do these polls and stuff, but I think it's pretty clear that there's a decline in believers. And I think that the world around us, the wickedness of this world, the internet, hate to just blame them, but blame it, but I think the internet is part of it. And just the world around us is actually encouraging of people that don't believe. And so we're seeing that more, and it's going to be harder and harder. My interpretation of the Bible, of the end times, is that it's going to be a lot harder on believers. That it's in a sense of keeping your faith. That you're going to see things, you're going to experience things are going to happen to you. That's going to make it harder and harder for you to be a faithful servant. And these two, the mental and the spiritual preparedness, to me are very hand in hand. They go together. And the world that's happening, I mean, just think in the last 2 or 3 years, some of you, maybe not all, but some of you have experienced some pretty traumatic experiences. Maybe you've lost loved ones, you've lost businesses, you've lost your home, you've been isolated from your loved ones because maybe you don't toe the official line, and so they say, well, you can't be around your grandkids because you don't have a certain thing inside your body, or because you didn't vote for a certain person. We've seen this kind of stuff and more happen at a much higher rate over the last few years because of what's been going on. And so that's going to make it difficult for people. I mean, being cut off from family or losing so much or even everything that you own, it's difficult. It's a difficult psychological experience, and it's difficult on the spiritual too, because any of you that have gone through a really tough time, maybe you lost a loved one, or your home burned to the ground, or you lost a job, or whatever it is, something that was really harsh, your wife or your husband walked off and left you. It's actually pretty common that for a time, that we question our own faith, and we question our relationship with the Father, and someone that's weak in that area might just reject Him and curse Him and move away from Him. That experience that some of you have gone through, that temptation, because you're in a low spot, it's very likely that's going to become more common, because it's very likely that we could go through more low spots in our lives. So I just, this video, I know it's not going to reach a lot of people. It's probably not going to be a popular video. I don't care. I don't make videos because of popularity. I make videos that I just feel from my heart that are important to talk about. And I think that this is a very important one. We get caught up, we live in a physical world, and we get caught up in that physical world, and we get caught up in the things that we need, and the tools and the skills, and all of that is very important. It is. But there's an aspect to this that I think is vastly more important. In fact, if I had the choice of being very, very strong, I mean very strongly, mentally and spiritually prepared, and having nothing physically, versus having, I don't know, Bill Gates level preparedness, and yet not having the mental and the spiritual preparedness with that, I would choose the mental and the spiritual preparedness, because I think with both of those, we have our own intelligence, and we have our faith and guidance from the Most High, that those two things, we could figure things out. I mean, there's countless stories in history of people that were in survival situations that had virtually nothing, no tools, no supplies to survive on, and they made it because they kept their wits about them. And so it's an encouragement to you, but it's also pointing the finger back at me. That this video is as much for me as it is any of you. That we need to not forget that we have to mentally ready ourselves for the times that are ahead. And most importantly, we have to draw ourselves in in a spiritual way to the Father. Get that Bible out, get reading it, get on your knees in prayer. Start really understanding, start developing that relationship. Even if you believe you have a strong relationship, strengthen it even more, because it's going to be put to the test. It's absolutely going to be put to the test. Your faith, your mind, your ability to clearly think through things, to handle tough times and emergencies and chaos, and to continue with your faithful walk. It's all going to be put to the test. And so whatever you're doing every day, every week, your preparations, maybe you're budgeting money to spend on certain things, or you're working on developing skills, or developing the food or the goods or the tools or whatever it is, I strongly encourage you to work in time to get yourself mentally and spiritually ready, because I could be wrong. I don't think that I am, but I could be wrong. But I'm pretty sure that the road ahead for us is going to put both our minds and our faith to the test in a way that probably most of you have never experienced. That's why I keep saying all the time, folks, it's time to get your houses in order. It's time to prepare mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.